Welcome to Uncaged. Today we're speaking with Simon Chassar. I'm excited to talk with you. You're working on a lot of cool things, and it really all buckets into kind of a couple of camps, one of them being really cyber technology and technology. Cyber is something that a lot of folks are thinking about right now. It comes up in almost every board meeting lately that I'm involved in. So clearly, this is a very hot space, and I'm excited to go through with you all the things you're working on. But before we get there, Simon, tell us a little bit about you and your career.
Yeah, thanks. Look, when I started, I suppose even sort of getting out into work, I was into mechanical engineering. So, that's where I initially started. And then from there, I wanted to get into banking and be a quantitative analyst for the banks, but didn't quite have the grades to make it, but ended up studying accountancy and then realized that technology was helping companies move away from manual accounting to computerized accounting. So I studied to be a systems accountant and did my MCSE. And then I built my own company, helping companies move from manual accounting to computerized accounting. And then from there, it went into how to look at data and how to look at I suppose optimizing businesses and using the data to make different decisions in companies. And one thing led to another, and I was destined for the technology industry. And I ended up in Lotus Software, and then quickly jumped into Cisco Systems, and then from there to Avaya, and then from Avaya into VMware and VMware Activia, and so on, and different roles. Found myself moving towards the front and into customers, and really driving sales and effectively creating business within technology, driven by giving value effectively to companies. And only recently, I think over the last 8 years, have I been in cybersecurity.
Yeah, I mean, the technology space has really revolutionized the way every aspect of business is going. I'll make a kind of a joke on the accounting in the UK. I hope it wasn't the post office you were working on.
No, no, no,
I,
no,
I,
not
I,
at all.
I saw that documentary about that whole thing. What a crazy moment that must have been. But I mean, certainly all of these spaces have led to where you are now, and you're working heavily in the cybersecurity space and tech space. Tell me a little bit more about the roles you're playing. I know you're an advisor, say an advisor to the stars. So tell me about all these companies you're working with.
Yeah, so I sort of got into the chief revenue officer position at NTT, running the cyber business unit for them, and that was mainly around the cyber services and ultimately to do with the cyber tech resale. And I was destined to move into the cyber vendor space and move to Clarity again, taking on the chief revenue officer position, which is responsible for the go-to-market sales and channel and business development and those sort of things. And then over the last 3 years at Clarity, which has been an amazing journey, I've grown the business from 20 million to 120 million of ARR, and
Wow.
that's like a 500% growth from 250 customers to 1,000, and had a recipe that sort of seemed to work pretty well over the last two jobs. So then went into the market, obviously still advising for Clarity on the current journey direction, which is onwards and upwards. But I've moved into doing advisory for some other companies like Cyber Reason. I'm doing a board advisory role for a company called Intasso. I'm doing a non-executive director role for a company called SWAT, and I'm doing various due diligence work for private equity firms. And I'm getting very close with some of the venture capitalists around seed companies in cybersecurity specifically.
On one level, Simon, I think that really bodes well for the cybersecurity space and the tech space. I mean, here you have all these emerging companies, and you've been able to support and build them on the growth side, really take them to the next level. And certainly, it seems like there's a healthy pipeline there. Tell me what you're seeing in the marketplace. What's really popping?
Well, I think that the big challenges have been post-COVID is the technology debt that's been accumulated in organizations, because as COVID sort of hit everyone shift effectively their investments into remote access, remote solutions, working from home, those sort of network adjustments that need to be made. and no one really addressed the inherent legacy systems, and that got accumulated in terms of technology debt. And what effectively has happened since then, with the market headwinds, with the Russian war in Ukraine and the inflationary pressures, that's further compressed the technology debt, because increasing costs, etc., have not been able to drive the same sort of budget changes. So all of that has built up to a point where now everyone is accelerating the shift towards cloud, making sure that effectively all of their connected and digital surface that they've now had to adopt as part of automation and efficiency to be more, I suppose, productive with what budget they have, also means they need to secure this very edge of their environment, which is this expanded threat surface. And that means
Mm-hmm.
that things like IoT and any physical systems that are associated with an organization also needs to be protected. So there's a mixture of this shift towards cloud, the endpoints that are effectively within the organization also being under focus, and then effectively also these connected IoT and OT devices that are part of their environments.
Yeah, it's really an interesting point. I mean, as we build these more, let's say, nimble or flexible solutions, which cloud computing allows us to do, certainly it presents a ton of cyber issues. I remember actually, not only after COVID, but during COVID, I know that a lot of CISOs were presented with a major challenge, which was suddenly their workforce was not at work, right? They were all at home. And so what do you do when you don't have folks in a controlled office, and it's the coffee shop crowd, right? And it's a whole nother set of challenges. So I think as we kind of alter and shift on the way we do business continually, wherever there's those connective tissues, those connective points, there's going to be a need. But I mean,
Yeah.
clearly, Simon, you have built an incredible resume. I mean, some of these companies that you've been part of and some of these emerging businesses that you're advising, this is a tech resume that everyone could envy. Tell me a little bit what drives your passion for this space.
I think going back to working with some great organizations, always comes down to the people you work with, and ultimately working for some of the best, sort of what I'd consider the best leaders and mentors in the business, in the tech industry, has sort of created this sort of need for me to also be part of a community, and ultimately working with others effectively is my fuel. And it gives me the energy every day just to be with other people. And I don't know whether that's just from, in every character, but ultimately that's my character. I love just communicating, talking to people, connecting things, giving value to people, giving much as back as I can, because I think what goes around does come around again. So
Yeah.
the more that you give, the more you get back, and I just enjoy it. And I think that some of the things I've learned from some just amazing people that have just given me a great journey in my life in different tech industries, organizations, sorry. Um, it's created me as a person, and that's ultimately how I operate now. And I give back the same, hopefully, to everyone that works with me or I interact with. So that's what drives me.
Yeah, I think that all of these areas that you're playing in have forced us all to connect in new ways and kind of build that connection in a more positive, perhaps maybe more efficient. I don't know. Some days more efficient, sometimes less efficient. Who knows? But I mean, here we are, Simon, in 2024. I can take a temperature gauge, certainly in North America. This is a year full of people thinking about the changes afoot. It's an Olympic year, it's an election year. People don't really know what's going to happen with the economy. And when I talk to our teams in Europe, it's kind of the same thing. They're happy that we're in 2024 and not in COVID 2020, but they're still not sure. Tell me what you're seeing out there.
I'm actually seeing a lot of green shoots, and a lot of the investment banks are seeing the same. There's a lot of goodness coming back. I think there was a lot of concern with some of the geopolitical
Hmm.
situations that are evolving, has caused some, I think, some turmoil. But ultimately, we're seeing more and more that there's opportunity, and the opportunity is also driving a lot of investment in areas of innovation, and specifically around, cybersecurity and artificial intelligence. There's a lot of focus on, okay, well, this is the next wave, or another wave that's come in, that's also combined with I think like digital transformation, dot 2.0, right? In a way, ultimately, we all want everything, super quick and super connected, which means all these sort of supply chains to manufacturers and to other organizations need to be interconnected. The way in which we get everything in our life from medical through to our utilities, for example, is all interconnected and web connected for ease of bill payments and invoices and so on. And all of that digital transformation, I think, is creating a momentum around connectivity, and that
Mm,
connectivity then creates data, and that data is okay. How do we leverage that data? And we can't manage the volume of data, and
mm,
whether we're on the cusp of things like connected vehicles or not connected or autonomous vehicles in some way, and also drones and other physical systems, that's created a need for assistance, and that artificial intelligence that is being innovated right now is with some trepidation in some way, some sort of concern and anxiety, but also seeing the benefits that what AI can bring you. And we're seeing from a cybersecurity perspective, more and more the malactors are effectively using this technology and having machines to impact machines and people. And ultimately, we need machines to defend against the machines. So this is creating a great investment area in the market. And I'm seeing more and more that cybersecurity is evolving. And I'm
yeah.
thinking that at some point towards the end of 24, we may even start to see quantum technology being leveraged, which will then create a completely new dynamic in terms of quantum cryptography and the need to evolve cryptography to protect that data. And I could go on for hours, but ultimately, you think about all of your data that you've got stored today in
Yeah.
all of these, banks and industries and everything else. Although they're sitting behind, security controls and firewalls and endpoint security and so on, at the end of the day, if a quantum computer can identify the private key, they can access that data, and therefore there is going to be this need to move that data that sits at rest today into a quantum safe cryptography. And I think that's going to come towards the end of 24, possibly in the 25. But yeah, there's a lot of great innovations that are happening as society also pushes it.
I like the phrase of working with the machines against the machines. I think that there's a tagline there for you, Simon. Well, listen, I mean, if someone wanted to learn more about what you're working on, someone who's looking for wanted really advice in the space, where's the best place to find you?
Well, they can follow me on X, also LinkedIn. I do regular posts, and they can reach out to me and connect. I do regular interviews like this, so more and more that people can follow me, then they can sort of hear and see what I'm talking about, what I'm thinking about, who I'm working with, and ultimately what I'm seeing as the evolving trends in the market, and ultimately areas which we need to focus on. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're at a moment where it does feel like some of the things that perhaps were brewing are now starting to accelerate as they get rolled out, which is exciting. And certainly, as you've highlighted, there's not going to be a moment of slowdown on the cybersecurity space. I mean, as every evolution, every new technology is met with a new challenge, which requires a new technology and a new challenge, so on and so forth. So I think that will go on forever. But Simon, amazing to talk to you today. We've been speaking with Simon Chassar. We've been talking about really cybersecurity and technology. He's an advisor for a variety of businesses, a veteran of the technology industry, the media industry. And really, it's been amazing to hear his perspective on where we are today and what's really in the near future for all of us. Simon, thank you so much for being on the show, and we look forward to having you back.
Thank you very much, and have a great rest of your day.